Today, um, before we start our presentation of our progress presentation, let me introduce the project members of this group. First is the project manager, which is me. I'm Don Carlo Pedilara, and the lead developer is Charles Darwin Abalta, and the peer engineer is Nicola Morabal. Our system is a structural source code plagiarism detection system using hybrid algorithm, ASTN grams, and TF-IDF. Our our system called Falsico. So we start. We're gonna start our project presentation. Next slide will be the project plan recap, or what we'll cover today. One is the project plan recap. Two is the completed phases. Three is the sprint progress. Four is the progress snapshots. Five is the challenges and mitigation. And number six is the remaining sprints and road. We will recap the core elements of our project plan. The Palsagon project utilizes an incremental and iterative methodology to ensure continuous improvement throughout development. We officially initiated this project on July 12, 2026, and we are strictly targeting to go live of October 26, 2026. The allocated budget for the system is 264,550 pesos. Looking at our milestone table, you can see how the workload is distributed. We began with our discovery and base design in March and April. Development is broken into 8 specific sprints. Charles Darwin, our lead developer, leads the backend and correct engine development, covering the ASP, further tokenization, plus routing, and also the TF-IDF logic spanning sprints 1 to 3, and later sprints to 8. And also, Nicola Mauri, our QA engineer, takes ownership of the front end interface, React dashboard, and authentication in sprints 4 and 5. Nicolo also leads the user acceptance testing or the UAT phase in mid-October before we manage the final go-live development. Next is the timeline overview of our project plan recap. On slide 3, we have our timeline overview. This visual Gantt chart serves as our roadmap, clearly illustrating where we stand on a project timeline in relation to our critical path. As you can see, is the table of our phases and key deliverables of our development. We start on January 12, 2026 and plan to go live in October 26, 2026. Next slide is our Gantt chart. Diving into the specific of the timeline in slide 4, here's our exact status as of today, July 31, 2026. We are pleased to announce that our Sprint 3 is now completed, placing us ahead of the schedule. As you can see, mapped on the Gantt line, every phase from discovery in late March all the way to Sprint 3 has been successfully closed. Our upcoming work immediately kicks off with Sprint 4 next week on August 3, keeping us well on track for the remaining milestones leading up to our October 26 launch. Next slide is the completed phases, which is the discovery and design. Focusing on slide 5, let's detail our earliest completed milestone, the discovery and design phases, which both exactly close on schedule. First is the discovery phase. The Jared Delara, the project manager, managed the discovery phase, which ran from March 25 to April 7. During this time, we finalized our comprehensive requirement analysis, resulting in the completed project charter is PRD and SRS. We also successfully identified the baseline Python and Java DSA datasets required for testing and secured all necessary stakeholder sign-offs. Following that is the design, which led by our lead developer Charles Darwin. From April 8 to April 21, this phase laid our technological foundation. We finalized the cloud computing and drafted the complete database schema, established our GitHub repository with strict branching rules, and completed all UI wireframes for the instructor and end user dashboards. Next slide will be the sprint one and will be tackled by Charles Darwin Dabalta, our lead programmer.
Thank you, Dandelara, and I'll be taking you through the technical execution of our first three sprint in detail. Let us start with the sprint number 1, which ran from June 22 to July 5th. Our primary focus here was the uh, setting up the abstract syntax tree or AST parser for our Python engine. To detect structural plagiarism, we can't just look at the plain text. We have to understand the underlying architecture of the code. Our main deliverable for this sprint was building the initial tree walking logic. This logic parses a submitted source code and normalizes its structure, essentially for stripping away the superficial changes a student might make, like renaming variables or adding empty spaces. I am pleased to report this sprint is fully completed, and we have successfully verified our parsing engine against the benchmark dataset we established back in the discovery phase. If you direct your attention to the screen, you can see exactly how this works under the hood. This is a live snippet from our python code.py. Notice the ASD token extractor class at the top. We are using Python native's native ASD.node visitor to traverse the code node by node. As you look down through the generic visit method, you'll see how normalize different elements. For example, whenever the parser encounters a variable name, it converts it to name ID token. Whenever it sees a function definition, it converts it into function definition that underscore function. By doing this, if two students submitted the exact same logic but use different variables name, our AST parser will output the exact same normalized token stream exposing the copied code. Moving on to the sprint 2, which spanned from July 6 to July 19. With our AST parser working, we needed a way to measure the similarities between those token streams. Our planned deliverable was to build an n-gram tokenized pipeline and implement critical pre-processing checks. As you can see in the live n-gram extraction, we take the token streams from sprint 1 and apply a 3-gram sliding window. This groups the structural tokens into set of 3. For example, mapping how a module leads to functional def, which leads to argument. In just a small file, this generates roughly 90 n-grams, giving us a highly detailed structural footprint to compare. Equally important in this sprint was the pre-processing validation. As noted in our risk register, uncompilable submission pose a threat to our processing power. We built a check that immediately rejects a file that is invalid before they ever reach the ASD parser. We also wrap up this phase by writing comprehensive unit tests to ensure stability before connecting to our API. That brings us to sprint 3 focuses on flash routing and our secure upload API. This sprint was officially scheduled to end on August 2nd, but as noted on the slide, we completed it today, July 31st. first, meaning we are officially ahead of schedule. Our goal here was to connect the backend logic to the web. We successfully built the batch upload endpoint, which is now fully capable of routing both Python and Java source code files. To ensure strict security and proper attribution for student submission, we implemented a stateless JWT authentication. Finally, we wired the secure upload API directly into the preprocessing syntax checks we just discussed from the Sprint 2. Next slide. To prove the backend integration is solid, here's a live terminal query. In the top block, you can see a post request being made to our API authent logic. We passed the credential for Charles, and the system successfully returned on the access token. In the next command, we inject the bearer token to authorize a GET request from classroom's assignment. The system perfectly returned the JSON payload pulling directly from our database. You can clearly see the active assignment for a quick sort program, the merge sort, and the program. Ah, merge sort program and the singly linked list. It accurately reflects the deadline, the language requirements, and the live submission counts. Finally, this slide shows the culmination of Sprint 1 through 6, 1 to 3 from the end user perspective. Here is the live test of an assignment submission interface. The user is prompted with the file explorer to select their source code. In this case, they are selecting a Java file for binary search tree assignment. Notice the warning prompt letting the student know there is time clock once deployed. When the user click deploy node, the file is securely authenticated via JWT, passed through our syntax checks, parsed by the AST, and broken down into n-grams, all happening seamlessly behind the scenes. I'll now hand it over to Nicolo to give you the snapshot of our overall timeline and schedule health.
Thank you, Mr. Charles Darwin Nabalta, and good day, Sir Patrick. I am Nicolo Moripaler, the Quality Assurance Engineer and UI developer for the Policy Code project. And I will be guiding you through our current progress snapshot, the upcoming roadmap, and our immediate next steps as we move forward. Looking at our overall project timeline on the screen as of July 31, 2026, I am incredibly pleased to report that we have successfully closed off 5 over 12, 5 over 12 of our planned phases. Especially, we have fully completed discovery and design phases along with the Sprint 1, 2, and 3. From a quality assurance perspective, completed means this module have passed our initial unit and integration testing. We have checked properly rejected invalid syntax before it crashes the engine and ensures that our Flask API securely handles batch upload using stateless JSON web token. Authentication. In terms of our schedule health, the project is currently running ahead of schedule. Thanks to the development team hard work, Sprint 3 was officially closed out today. Today, full days early, this means our built-in scheduled buffer is now even wider. Having this extra buffer is fantastic news for the QA base, as it provides us the even more breathing room for the conduct rigorous and promise testing before our final release. This puts us in a excellent position as we prepare to formally begin Sprint 4 on August 3rd. Moving on to the challenges and mitigation. I will now discuss the four core risks identified in our project plan and exactly how our team is handling them to protect the system and the timeline. First, we anticipated the technical risk of receiving uncompatible or completely invalid source code submission from the users. To mitigate this effectively, pre-processing syntax checks were built indirectly into Sprint 2 ahead of the API layers, ensuring that invalid files are constantly cut and rejected before they can ever reach or crash the AST parsing engine. Second, to address the risk of scope creep, especially requests to expand our system to support multi-language compatibility like C++ and C Sharp. We are strictly holding the scope to Python and Java, exactly as defined in our project charter. Any additional language has been firmly logged as phase 2 items so we do not compromise our current deadlines. Third, regarding operational risk, like team member illness or single points of failure, we enforce daily code pushes to our shared GitHub repository. Combined with our two 2 weeks scheduled buffer, this keeps our sprint highly resilient to unexpected absences. Finally, to account for the limited availability of COE and CCS instructor, during user acceptance testing, we are already preparing a synchronous testing form and step-by-step video walkthrough ahead of the October UAT window. This ensured that our faculty can evaluate the system truly to their own time without creating bottlenecks. Next is the roadmap ahead. You can see our remaining sprints and milestone leading all the way up to our deployment. The most important takeaway here is that from sprint 4 to through the go live, there are absolutely no changes to our original project plan dates. Um, Sprint 4 kicks up next, running from the August 3rd to August 16th, where the focus will be building React dashboards and the user authentication roles. Following the Sprint 5 branch from August 17 to 13, dedicated to finalizing the code upload interface and completing the front-end integration. Um, Moving on to the September, Sprint 6 and Sprint 7, we will tackle the heavy battle back-end task system integration alongside the core ngrams logic. Followed immediately by the TF-IDF and cosine similarity logic. For the Sprint 8, conducting on October 11 is dedicated entirely to algorithm calibration and turning, where we all stress test the engine to ensure it hits our strict target accuracy of 85% or higher. After active development wraps up, our UAT phase will run from October 12 to October 18, focusing on historical DSA data testing and the defect resolution currently. The final structure set up for DNS, server scaling, and security handling will take place. Ultimately, this leads to us to go live phase scheduled from October 23 to October 26 for the production deployment and admin training. To wrap up our presentation, I want to clearly outline our intermediate next step as a team with Sprint 3 successfully closed off on July 31st. 2 full days ahead of our August 2nd target, we are immediately opening Sprint 4. Our primary actions items involve kicking off the React dashboard shells and establishing the role-based authentication to separate our instructor and our admins. In parallel, we will prepare to benchmark datasets refresh that is absolutely needed for our the algorithm calibration. Taking place later in Sprint 6 to 6-8, we will also continue to drop and polish our asynchronous UAT materials for the COE and CCH instructor and end users, ensuring everything is ready well ahead of October. Our development is robust. Our milestones are entirely on track, and our target go live date remains firmly set for October 26, 2026. Um, Thank you all very much for your time and attention. Today, we would like to open floor to any questions you might have about the system of our progress. Thank you.